Alright, so I'm gonna show multiple builds in this video. I've just kind of been too lazy to make specific build showcases on. I'm not gonna really showcase any of it because I'm too lazy to record the Frog Dungeon over and over and over again. I've been procrastinating on this for so long, so I'm just gonna record here, show off what I have, and then call it good. So starting with this build, it's going to be the Fragrant Piercing build. So I have Reigning Fragrant Piercings, 2 Legendary Infused Knights pieces, Quick Blessed Holy Ring. You can use just Blessed. I have Quick there because it's nice. I have a Reigning Proto Grappler rune. You could use any rune, really. You could probably use a heal rune and have that work better, or a Weakening Roar rune. But I just really like the movement. And infused, I have another Fragrant Piercing, 1 more Infused Knight, and then Stone Cleric. My weapons, I have Hallowedwood Handle, Divine Edge, I know, very original. I'm using Holy Shrine. And so this build, what's nice about it is that Fragrant Piercings, it just has a really large area and really good vertical hitbox, I guess, and does very consistent damage. And with what I have, it does like 100 damage per tick, so an extra 100 DPS or just existing, and it's very easy to proc. Procs whenever you proc a heal that has a proc coefficient. Wow, so much procking. Or just using a potion or a consumable that'll heal you. So like a potion. And now I have it. The regen by itself is really low. But with what I'm doing, I usually... Alright, so I usually get the Blessing proc to give me regen, and Blessing gives 1 potency of regen. And with how buffs work in this game, you can keep that 1 potency forever, as long as you keep refreshing the buff. Of course, when I want to showcase it, I never get it. Okay. But yeah, when it does proc, I get around like an 8.3 health per tick. Health per regen tick, which is kind of nice. And if you can get on teammates, it's also really nice. There we go. Usually it doesn't take that long. But if you get the regen on yourself, you can keep that up forever, basically. Because it's so easy to refresh the Fragrant Piercing buff by just using a potion or proccing a heal. That's proc coefficient. The damage itself does around 300 DPS, but it's not really made for that. I mean, it's kind of a mix. It does enough, except for in Tundra, because that dungeon is miserable with anything below 1000 DPS. At least trying to grind. So, oh right, ring infusion. I have a quick step ring. I'm gonna take off the buff. Why quick step ring? Because it's funny. So, if you don't know what it does, it gives you untethered. So it'll heavily reduce all movement restrictions from various actions. What actions exactly? Like attacking, using your weapon art, blocking, and even using recall. Because yes, I need to walk when I'm using recall. I think it's really silly. Kind of funny. Unnecessary, but that's why I'm keeping on. And also... oh, that's why. If you equip another quick step ring, you can block and walk really fast. Your block speed is actually faster than your normal walk speed. Why would that really matter? I don't know, if you're a block tank. And also, for the rune, you can go really far, really fast. I'm also elf and cleric guild, if that wasn't obvious enough. The race doesn't really matter if you want to walk faster. Oh. Amazing. If you want to walk faster, you go Kitsune. If you want more stun resistance, go Orc. If you want more damage, go half Orc. It's up to you. Anyways, that's all for this one. Alright. For this build, it's going to be the exact same stuff from before, except instead of Infused Knight, I'm using Restored Red Sky Saint, and I have a Swarm Rune here because it's... I have to have that to showcase this part. Because I'm using Vaen Handle, and Divine Edge, and Rapid Stabs. So this build is going to be revolving around Crimson Tithe. Which, whenever I use my weapon art, I consume a portion of my HP, and then I do an AoE heal. Oops, hold on. I had a Vampiric green here, so I can proc this. You can see that it's not really like, it's just an idea, not a full showcase. So I have my dudes, and then I tithe. The idea is, I can just stay by something, and charge up Vital Mist just by existing and blocking. And like, it works. You want to be a heal bot, of course I get regen instantly. Because it does enough damage to level up or give enough charge for Vital Mist without really doing anything, and you can keep blocking. And yeah. That's kind of the entire idea for this one. The only downside is that you have to have a teammate next to you to proc Vital Mist. Not Vital Mist, Crimson Tithe. Because if you don't, then it just doesn't proc. Or doesn't like do the healing tethers, and then if you don't have anything to heal, then you don't have Radiance proccing. So that's why I have the Swarm Rune, to just show it here solo. But if you have teammates, which is kind of unlikely since there hasn't been an update in a while, so the player count is very low, then you don't need Swarm Rune. Alright, for the next one, it's going to be a build revolving around Radiant Laurels. I had the same infusions as last time. I kind of didn't change anything because I'm just showing the idea. But this revolves around Radiant Laurels, last Seraph, and then I don't know, I just had Infused Knight still on. I had Blessed Pull, Divine Edge, Lesser Heal. You need Lesser Heal. You also need False Sun Rune if you want to be able to do anything, or at least use the powered up version of Radiant Laurels. Alright, so Radiant Laurels, it gives the perk Solar Light, converts Lesser Heal into a specific holdable beam, and you can target allies. The range at which you can target allies feels really short, so most of the time it doesn't go to who you want to target. But this also works by yourself, and it works better by yourself, or if you target yourself. So without it, that's without being powered up. Yeah. And to recharge your Lesser Heal, you can last Seraph Slam, Divine Crash, if you will, into the enemy. Because of Divinity, your finishers recharge your weapon art faster. Also, you have to be elf for this. is still Elf and Cleric. You can change your guild. You have to be Elf for this, because you want to have the powered up version, which does more healing and has actual damage on the weapon art and not just radiance. Which kind of sucks that you have to have False Sun if you want to use this anywhere else other than the overworld. And even then you still have a little bit of downtime because False Sun got nerfed for some reason. If you do want to fully invest in this, you should change the head infusion into another Radiant Laurel so it makes Radiant Laurels better. Infuse the last Seraph instead of wearing it, and then I don't know, go full Infused Knight because that's one of the most recent buffed healer armors that's good for both healing and offense. Same with Radiance. Alright, for this one, it's Frenzied Frogg. So I'm wearing 3 Frenzied Sea Demon, a Frenzied Frog Ring, a Frenzied Bounce Rune, another Froggy Ring infused, 2 more Sea Demon infused, and 1 last Seraph. Oh, whoops. For my weapon, I have Bestial Handle, and Blade, and Rapid Stabs. Why Rapid Stabs? Because why not? This build revolves around Rage and what's it called? The Froggy Ring. To do that, I get 1.4 potency Rage. And that's kind of it. Without Rage or Frenzy, it's kind of useless. Once I do have it, I do like 380 damage per tongue. Which is pretty nice. But that also means that it's basically useless in B and Bastion, because those bosses can't be posture broken to proc Bestial Rage, and you can't kill anything during the boss fights. So it's useless there. But in Frogg and Tundra, where the bosses can be posture broken, it's usable. Frogg more so because you can perfectly break a Lord Frogg and keep Frenzy up basically 100%. Sea Demon, it counters the healing, at least if you have 5 of them on, which I do. It completely counters Frenzy's heal penalty, so you can now heal normally. Wow, isn't that amazing? At the cost of taking 30% more damage? Yeah, that's what this one is. It works against Frogg Dungeon pretty well. It is not really good against large groups. It's more for single target, because stacking Froggy Ring does not increase the amount of tongues that shoot out, which is kind of sad, but oh well. Alright, for this one, it's going more for the Vine Crash. Continuing with Froggy Ring, I have the Legendary Wearable Crown, Legendary Last Seraph, Contain Tempestuous Froggy Ring. You don't need it to be a double enchant. You can just go with Tempestuous. Contain is just there, so I don't have to watch my boss as much. I have a Mythical Bounce Rune. Infused, I have another Wearable Crown and 2 Toadzerker pieces. I'm in the Thief Guild and I'm using Bunkin. Bunkin because it's fun, and I have like a 40% chance to dodge an attack. Is it useful? Not really, because this build is already good at evading enemies. For my handle, I have Bestial Handle. For my weapon or my blade, I have Lightning Hammer. I'm using Lightning Cloak. And if you really want to be quirky, you could use Mongol Mallet. So you can get Gaseous Smash. I'll show this real quick. So you can get Gaseous Smash, have a little Poison Cloud, and if you have Arachnid, instead of a Toadzerker piece or something, you can just crit without being in Thieves. Just have those out, keep poisoning enemies, and keep critting them. But I'm in Thieves, so I'm not going to show that. Instead, I'm going with Lightning Hammer. Alright, so this is just a basic Divine Crash build with Froggy Ring. It was mainly supposed to be a Froggy Ring build, but then ended up being Divine Crash. Well, kind of a mixture of both. So, the mallet, of course, calls down lightning whenever you actually land the smash. If you just land the tongue, it doesn't do anything. You have to land the Divine Crash, and then it calls down lightning. With the lightning cloak and everything else, if you're on an enemy, it'll always call down lightning if you don't mess it up. It just kind of does that. Most of the time this won't really matter. This is only gonna matter for bosses, where you can constantly hit them like that and they won't die. But for most things, one backstab lightning thing is like 1200 damage and they'll die. If not one, just hitting them with twice, if you don't mess it up. Another thing, Froggy Ring, or the tongue shot, activates on every single finisher hit. So if you had a multi-hit finisher like a Great Spear, or if you used rapid stabs, you could shoot out 2 tongues at once. You'd have to load it up like this first, and then you'd use your finisher and then jump, and you would shoot out 2 tongues, one for like the initial shot, and then you jumped in the middle of your finisher, you know, recharge the buff, and then you shoot out another. I forgot to show that with rapid stabs on the other build, and I don't feel like going back and re-recording that, but it's there. Is it useful? No, but it's there. So if you ever want to double tongue shot one enemy, you can do that. It also has really good range. Detects in a cube around you. So if you really want to snipe an enemy, you want to have the corner of your screen at them, because if you look at them flat, it won't reach. And yeah, that's kind of it for this. I think this build's really fun. I think it's fun jumping around, smashing enemies, and if they're far away, you can just tongue shot them. It's really easy to get behind enemies because the tongue shot roots them and stuns them a lot. It has like the most stun in the game. And it can even stun Void Roots. If you didn't know, Void Roots are stunnable. And they're only stunnable through really high stun moves like the Frozen Waste block attack or tongue shot, which is fun. But yeah, that's kind of it for this one. It's kind of a spiritual successor to one of my other builds, like my second build, I think. But yeah, that's kind of it. My sustain is, if you're curious why Bestial Handle, that's my sustain. It also gives me movement speed whenever I kill something and I have rage. If you really want to, you can replace that with Mongol Handle, so you can have the little poison cloud and have Arachnid instead of one-toed Zerker. So if you're ever right by an enemy, you can poison them and then crit them, and you can be in Curse Goat instead. You can do a lot of things. I'm not showing that off. Why? Because I already have a build on my cursed slot, and I'm gonna show that next. Or probably the last thing I'm gonna show, it's gonna be this. As you can tell from the little effect there, it's gonna be a Wave Rider build. It's very basic. So basic, I can't even scroll my character stats. So I have a Corrupt Deep Steel set on. I have a Warped Fire Ring and a Warped Snowball Ring. Infused, I have another Fire Ring, and then 3 Ember Mage. I'm in Curse Guild, and I'm using Elf. For my weapons, of course, Wave Rider Handle and Blade. I have Splash on. This is for... Splash is just there to start up the cooldown here. This is mainly for the big wave. It's a 5-second cooldown or 5-tick cooldown. If you're just using that, you can get it to 4 seconds if you use Splash right after. Like right here. To keep the increased gain rate up. 4 ticks instead. Pretty nice. Side note, since you can only get this to like 5 ticks with this, you only need 1 warped enchant. I have 2, so I don't have to level this up. But also, to get more potency for ignition, that's basically your crit chance for this. And then extinguishes your crit damage, I guess you can say. So I have like a 78% chance to ignite and immediately extinguish them. But I should show that off. But I also want to show something else. If you don't want to do the waves, you can switch to spin instead. Now I have to wait for it to fully charge. And so if you don't want to have the wave, you can just have spin here. Spin has a 3-second cooldown. This is still 5 ticks. So it'd be a 5-second wave burst if you wanted that instead of the actual ranged wave. Oops. Mess that up. Don't do that. That's no good. Alright. So I use Splash so I can get my stuff back faster. But once you already have it fully charged and keep using it, you don't need to do that. It does 908 water damage per extinguish. If you don't extinguish, it'll do less. Like 300 or 400, I don't remember. But against bosses and whatnot, if you want to do more damage, throw the snowball at them. It'll debuff them with frostbite so they take more water damage, and you can do like 90 more damage. It's not a lot, but it's something. Alternatively, you can also use a fireball rune if you really want to guarantee the extinguish. It's up to you. Also has a lot of range if it doesn't lag. It's pretty nice. The living monster doesn't even know what hit him. There he goes. So yeah, it's really nice in Frogg Dungeon. If you have all the enemies lined up, you can just line them up and knock them down. If not, you can also just snipe from really far away. If you want to have it pure support, you can replace the armor with Blessed Ocean Guardian to make your team, you and your team, take half damage. Just because why not? That's if you want to go support. If not, you can just swap back. And use Splash again to restart the faster cooldown. And that's kind of it. If you stuck around, thanks for watching.